Hello, I'm Tony Pearson-Young and welcome to the Dulux Academy Podcast. It's been a tough time for people in the world of decorating over the past few months. So here at the Dulux Academy, we decided we wanted to share some of the best practices with you and to take a look at how professionals can make the most of the situation and adapt to the new normal. I'll be interviewing some great characters of our trade and some industry experts throughout this series to chat about life as a decorator during and post-lockdown. This week we'll be discussing the challenges that decorators have faced during lockdown and how we can all adapt and develop to future-proof our industry, along with talking about what we would have done differently if we'd known what was coming. Today I'm joined by Darren Whitfield, Morley Lane and Les Copestake to discuss their experiences from lockdown. Darren, Morley and Les all own their own successful decorating businesses, working predominantly in the domestic sector, and like you, have all had to navigate this roller coaster of lockdown over the past few months. So Darren, what was your instant reaction to what was almost an overnight lockdown?
It wasn't a great shock, and at the time I was I'm almost convinced I did have COVID, so I was very ill. It was understandable. Your initial reaction, I'd already had a situation where I had to make sure that my client was okay with, one, I had to just put a halt to the job anyway, because when I became ill. So I'd already been off when lockdown, probably week and a half. Week and a half I'd already been off. That was literally like a bolt out of the blue. So I was on a job that was going to be a good sort of 6-week job, and I was only a week into it. So for me, I'd already sorted things out. They knew I was poorly. When it was announced with lockdown, it was just a case of carrying on. And well, we're all in a situation. There was the uncertainty and everything else that goes with it. My main priority was one at the time. Thinking back, there was that. Everyone was quite scared, I suppose, for the health. But my main concern for business was the client okay, and they were completely brilliant all throughout. And so, from that point of view, my main priority was getting better, and then just wait until we could go back to work. Really.
So how poorly were you yourself?
It was the worst I've ever felt. It was pretty bad. I was more worried about my breathing, and personally I was a bit worried about sort of the pneumonia kicking in and things like that. I mean, I probably was pretty close to needing hospital at one point. The family was starting to get really concerned, but I went from that, which you sort of hear repeatedly now, where that week and a half you were either going to go downhill or start to get better, and pretty much just after a week and a half, I did start to sort of slightly improve, luckily. So it was about 17 days in total that I was very poorly, but I'm here. Wow. So that's great.
Well, good to see you made a full recovery from that. That's great. What about yourself, Morley? How did it kind of come over to you, the lockdown?
I kind of expected it slightly because obviously other countries in Europe had done the same thing. And I had a customer who was a medical guy, and he told me we were going to happen, but none of us knew what was going to happen, did we?
No, it was a case of a large unknown, wasn't it? And Les, how about yourself?
It was really scary to start off with, because I've got 6 decorators that work for me, throughout the year. So I was worried about them more than myself. At the time, all I had booked in was interior work. So the majority of those customers called to cancel and postpone, obviously, a couple of which I had to call and cancel the jobs. But then my main focus was I had a lot of external work booked in sporadically throughout the year. So I just called all of those customers, and they were really happy to let us start the jobs early, which was fantastic. So I think we had a 1 week where it was bitty, finishing jobs, a few days off here and there. But as we were really lucky at the time with the weather, so we just played on with the external work. So I was quite fortunate there. There were 2 or 3 days where I was, it was quite scary.
Yeah, I'm sure it was for everyone, but especially when you're responsible for your team, you take that extra bit of worry with you, don't you?
Exactly, and it takes a long time to get that work into the diary. Like at the moment, I'm already thinking about December and January. So come March, come lockdown, that work in the diary, I'd book that in months in advance. So then I had like a week to reflect the diary.
Overall, were your customers understanding of what the situation was?
So everyone was a bit wary, sure, but they were all quite happy for, if they could help, they wanted to help. They didn't want us to be out of work. So as soon as we explained the situation to them, as soon as we explained that we'd be, following our own new work guidelines, they were happy for us to carry on.
Oh, that's good. That's great news. So Morley, did you have to take much time off?
Yeah, we took the whole time off for a few reasons. One is we felt, Sam and I discussed it before the lockdown as to what we would do, and we felt we should honour the government's guidelines and stop the spread of it. I realise some decorators didn't, but that's their choice. At the end of the day, people have to do what they have to do. But also, we work mainly sort of within 8 miles where we live all the time, and people know our vans. And I didn't think it'd be a wise thing for us to be driving around advertising we were still working. And also, the sort of customers we work for would have wanted that as well. So yeah, we literally, as soon as I was just about to start loads of exterior work, and when Boris announced it, I had pre-warned some customers I thought it was going to happen, but I rung around, told them all, and Sam and I stopped that day, and we didn't go back till we told you we could go back. So yeah.
Wow, that was a big decision to make, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I did find out obviously after a week or two. I had some savings. Sam had some savings. I haven't got big mortgages or anything like that. So, and so it was a decision we decided to make. But yeah, it was walking into the unknown. And then I spent the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks trying to claim this money the government said we could have. This the 0% loan thing. Oh my goodness, it took weeks and weeks and weeks, but we got the money in time. Yeah.
Oh, good. So what did you do with all that time at home then? Have you got a beautifully decorated home now?
Well, it's beautifully decorated beforehand. That's the embarrassing thing. I decided that I was going to do a dry run of retirement and see what it felt like. And I realised I put too much weight on, and I didn't go out that much. I realised when it comes to retirement, I'm going to have some sort of fitness regime, and also to go out a bit more, mix a bit more. But no, I mean, my daughter was working from home. So there was 3 of us in the house. My wife teaches, so she was at home most of the time. My wife was, and she was going in for key workers. My wife mainly, she's a really good cook, so she was cooking for the homeless, and also for she was in contact with a thing that, because obviously there's loads of domestic violence going on, so she was cooking for these sort of safe houses, and we were dropping the food off, and then obviously we didn't know where they were, so they delivered the food to these people.
Oh, brilliant! What a lovely thing to do. Darren, once you got off your sick bed, how did you occupy your time?
What did I do? Nothing.
So you did enter retirement yourself then?
It did. Well, yes, it was the closest that I've come to sort of what it'd be like if you were retired, which I've wanted that feeling for a long time. And I really enjoyed lockdown after when I became well again. I really did. Drank too much. I think I was about 4 or 5 days after I'd started to feel really okay, and I had my first drink again. And obviously the sun started shining, didn't it? So the weather was really nice, early spring. So there was too many gin and tonics on the patio, putting a bit of weight on. But I did take the opportunity to I've been sort of on and off learning the guitar and the ukulele. So that was nice, and doing a bit of that. And it was a really nice time to sort of spend time with family, where you were all sort of forced to just spend that real quality family time together. So I really enjoyed it for that. And for a good few weeks, I really enjoyed it. I know everyone's had their own difficult times with it all, and everyone's different. But personally, I loved it. I thought, once I got back, I thought it was an absolute cracking time to just spend time walking the dogs, leisure. Even the time that we were limited to go out, it was just nice getting out going for a nice walk with the dogs and just being chilled, really.
Yeah, I think it gave us time to find some time, didn't it, in that respect, to have time to go out with family, go for a nice walk that we have very busy lives at the moment, and that gave us a chance to redo that.
Yeah.
Did Mrs. Whitfield not get you to do some decorating at home?
It's a very touchy point, that, Tony.
Oh, please expand on that.
Well, there was promises of decorating work to be done in lockdown. I am quite known to have a to-do list that can get does get quite big. Now, the kitchen, I promised that I was going to repaint all the kitchen units that we had installed about, I don't know, 10 years plus, and they're all over-veneered, and I've promised to paint them all up in a colour. Now, that's been ongoing for, let's say, 2 years. Now, with lockdown, this was the golden opportunity, wasn't it? So, but the sun was shining, and this was the problem, you see. So every day there was an excuse. What made it worse is that my wife is a teaching assistant, and she had to go in for look after the key workers' children. And so quite early on, Alison had to go back to work, which didn't help that I'm sat at home on the patio with my ukulele and a gin and tonic. So it's still ongoing. I'm not mentioning it yet, and I'm not getting nagged too much. But the sort of promise to myself is I will get it done for Christmas.
I think when she hears this podcast, she may remind you of that promise of the kitchen.
I'm not telling her about the podcast.
I will. And Les, how many times have you sorted your van out and sorted all the team's kit out during lockdown?
Like I said, unfortunately, that sounds amazing. The time you've had sat in the sun and walking a dog and drinking gin and tonic, it's been the busiest 6 months I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. My business is VAT registered, so I'm an employee of the business. I was in a position to not work, and I wanted to. There's nothing more I wanted to do more than drink gin and tonic and spend time in the sunshine. But my decorators, I had one with a child on the way, one who just had a baby boy, another one who's just got a mortgage. So I had to really keep these guys in work. And they were all concerned and worried, and people postponing jobs. So like I said, I brought a lot of work forward, which was fantastic. But then I had some jobs in the diary which stayed there. So then I had a big crossover point where it was really hectic, and we've just got through the back of that, which is great. The van's in a tip. I've not lifted a finger at home. Would have been impossible because my wife's been working from home and looking after our 6-year-old son. So it's been, almost afraid to say it, business as usual.
No, but that's a good thing to be able to do that. So have you been able to invest in the business as well then, while you've carried on working? Yeah,
there's a little place called the Dulux Academy in Slough. So I've sent the chaps up there, doing a bit of training. But no, that's about it really. No investment, just all hands on deck working. That's it, I'm afraid. Nothing exciting.
Have you attended any of the live webinars that we've done as well?
I did, yeah, actually. I did. How many did I do? I did 2 and didn't turn up for 1. Yeah, I know. I do apologise. I did apologise to Vicky. No, I did the perfecting exteriors to see if there was anything I could pick up there, and there were a couple of things. It was really good, and the exploring colours as well, and that was really interesting. I picked up a lot from that one.
Cool. How do you think that's helped you in the way that you run your business and talk to your clients?
At the moment, it hasn't really changed a great deal because we've just been, again, working on externals. They've been huge externals where we've been painting white gloss and magnolia walls. So it's not really changed there, but it has made me want to do more courses in colour, which I wanted to do anyway. So once I've got those under my belt, and fingers crossed we're back doing internals next year, hopefully I can utilise them then.
Darren, once you've managed to put your ukulele down and your gin and tonic glasses empty, have you managed to have a look at your business and invest for the future?
Not invest for the future. It's definitely made me reevaluate life, which I've heard a few people say that. I mean, I can only imagine the headache, like what Les has referred to. If he's got 6 lads, I mean, that is a headache. I'm lucky I'm back on my own again now, and I intend to stay on my own. Only looking after yourself is a lot different than looking after 1, 2, 3, 6 lads. It's made me, I was already starting to sort of change the way I thought about my business before lockdown. And that's just strengthened what I was feeling anyway, where it's just trying to find a bit more of that life balance. I'm sort of, believe it or not, I'm starting to get on a bit in life, and, I'm quite comfy, I would say. I mean, you never like saying that word, but I am really.
Not on the floor.
But compared to 15, 20 years ago, I'm comfortable really. I've got no complaints. So only having to look after myself. Investment wise, not really. Just a case of sort of reevaluating sort of what hours I would like to work. A big life changer for me is my lad's just finished university. So I've had 4 years of shelling out for helping him get through uni. And so the big game changer for me is that once he's finished that now, which he has, that I'm going to play more golf. So I'm not going to work Saturdays, which I've been doing for years. So it's just life-changing things where I'm just hoping to do Monday to Friday, and try and not work silly hours if I can. It doesn't always work, as we all know. But I suppose that's the main change for me coming from this.
No, sounds good. Sounds like we've a bit of a recheck and a rebalance of that work-life balance, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
So, Morley, you had quite a long time off through lockdown then. So how are you going to move your business forward now? It's almost like a restart, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm always... somebody once described, a local businessman said to my son once, your dad always reinvents himself. And I always like to come up with something fresh. I don't like staying still. I mean, the reality is probably 10 years ago, all you had to do was paint interiors and do a bit of exterior. But obviously, things like wallpaper, murals, no spraying is the thing we're learning. So I kind of am aiming, although I'm not going to retire for some time, but I'm aiming eventually to pass my business over to Sam, who works for me. And so I said to Sam I wanted to invest in some of these new things, and especially spraying, which we've been doing some of it. And so they'll eventually have a business that we do more, if you like, especially coming back after the lockdown. We can offer more services to customers, but also something that he can build on, if you like. So that's where I'm aiming for. Probably another 6 years of being on the tools, and then after that, sort of doing the quotes and everything. Yeah. And
then let Sam do all the hard work.
He does that already, and he's better at it.
No, that's good. Yeah, I've met him a couple of times here at the Academy. He's very passionate and very conscientious about his craft, isn't he?
Yeah, and customers love him, so it's great. He's a great person to sort of eventually take over. Yeah. So
you're all in the Dulux Select Decorators scheme. So staying with you then, Morley, how has the Select scheme supported you and your business through lockdown?
I found certainly the forum quite good. Obviously, because we were able to see what the guys were doing, how they were coping, and I think having sort of the bigger picture of how people were and supporting each other that way was good.
Yeah.
I think it's true to say these things can affect mental health and things like this. And although I never felt that myself, it's good to be there to support others who perhaps are struggling with worry and dealing with bills, etc.
Yeah. I think because we're all kind of little businesses across the country, and it's one place where you can all actually meet up, catch up, and chat and support each other, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so, I mean, being on your own is okay, but you do need to feel part of a bigger group, really.
Yeah, Darren, how have you felt the Select scheme has supported you through lockdown?
I've found the frequent communication from my panel member was helpful. I thought that was really nice, and it seemed to be, I don't know, every sort of couple of weeks there'd be something changed, and there was it was just, I think, because there was so much uncertainty, and it's really weird now. We've sort of got used to all this sort of lockdown and then temporary lockdowns. But at the time, you've got to take yourself back, and at the heart of it, I think pretty much everyone was pretty scared of what could be. So, that people worried about the business. Obviously, people have different experiences with family and coping with life. But I think what I found was nice that, one, you've always got the Select forum, which is always, I'm on it all year round anyway. But particularly when you're not sort of communicating as much as you were, and you've only got your family, it was nice to sort of be able to speak to friends. Like I say, you got the communication from the panel member. Sometimes, you might have people who are asking questions about, can we do this? Can we do that? Are we allowed to do this? Are we allowed to do that? So just keeping a communication going. I found also we had the quiz, which was a good fun night, and just little things which Select is always about. If you get involved, there's always plenty to learn and make good friends.
It may sound like a cliche, but the more you put into it, the more you get out. And I think if you actively take part in the forums, you do take a lot from it, definitely. So Les, do you think it's supported you and your business? I know you've carried on working all the way through, and you haven't probably had as much time to spend on the forums, but how has Select supported?
Yeah, well, again, just mirroring what these guys have said with regards to the forum, it's been really good, speaking to like-minded decorators about their worries and their concerns. That firstly has been really good, really helpful. The printouts which Vicky sent out were amazingly helpful. So when I was trying to rearrange work and trying to persuade customers that we're not going to, fill their houses full of viruses, showing them the new ways of working, which we have all adhered to. We've been lucky that we haven't had any interior work, really, and we've had the nice weather, because new ways of working really haven't changed a great deal, apart from we've been sticking to working 2 meters away from each other. On certain jobs where I initially had 4 or 5 guys down to work on, I've only had 2, so we can, maintain working at safe distances and wiping down door handles, etc. Or what else have I done? Also, on every external job, I've made sure we've had a portaloo, so we don't have to use go into their homes. So that was really good and really, helpful of the team. But yeah, it's like just mirroring what these guys have said. The Select forum is always really good.
Brilliant. I think ensuring you've got a portaloo on site for your team, it gives them confidence. It gives the homeowner confidence as well. So no, that's a great idea. I've not heard of that one before. So what's been your biggest learning throughout all of this, trying to look after your team and keep the customers happy at the same time? What's your biggest learning from all that?
For me, it's just communication. It's communication with the clients constantly. Giving them peace of mind. I've been giving them updates weekly. Where we are, what we wiped down. Etc. And at the same time, making sure, like I said earlier, I'm constantly concerned about the work for the chaps, my decorators. So making sure I've got work booked in advance. So again, communication, just, whenever I'm pricing work, I'm explaining to the customers that, this work may not be carried out till the new year or whatnot.
Morley, what's been your biggest learning throughout the lockdown?
I think mainly I'd say it's been good speak to neighbours I've never spoken to before, to get out more, and to appreciate family much more. I also try not to worry about things that I can't control, and I've always had to discipline myself for that. And so, if I can't control what's going on in the country and what's going on in the world, then all I can do is just take one day daily, really, and not to sort of worry too much long term. It's hard to do sometimes. I also don't allow sort of family members, particularly, to put worry on me because they all worry for you, And so it sounds robotic, but it's just something I have to keep reminding myself to do.
No, good. And Darren, how about yourself?
Completely agree with Morley there. The one big thing in my life now is stress-free is the golden ticket. And there's no doubt about it. Morley's right. I mean, things that I used to sort of bother me or I'd overly worry about, unnecessarily really, regarding business. And now if you can't do it, you can't do it. And as long as you communicate that, and communication is the big key. It's someone, I can't remember if it was Les who mentioned that. Communication is absolutely key with your clients, with everything. And if you can't do something for whatever reason, if you communicate that and explain it, most people are reasonable, and they're going to accept it. And if there's nothing you can do about it, there's nothing you do about it. But I think the big problem is some people just don't communicate and just think that it'll go away, and it won't, and it'll end up bouncing on the bum. So I think, for me, going forward, is just sort of realising what you can do, communication, and try and live. And it doesn't happen all the time, obviously, as we all know, but if you could just have a stress-free life, that's the key for me.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I think we'd all have to echo that sentiment. I think, if we can take some of that stress, it makes life so much more enjoyable. Now that you're back at work, any thoughts on what you would have done differently, being off the tools?
Some things when I look back now and I think, why, with all that time off, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Such as rack my van a bit differently, which has been on my to-do list for about 6 years now. There's a few more things I could have done. Looking back, I think, wow, I had all that time. Why did I not do it? And then I'm back at work and having to do these things in the future. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm working and I'm going to have to do this when I had all that time off. So, it was a really, really bizarre experience. But I don't know, things that I wish I'd have done. I just suppose I don't wish I'd have done the kitchen.
Yes, I'm sure Mrs. Whitfield would have done too. Brilliant. And what about yourself, Molly? Because, you've already said you took quite a lot of time off. So is there anything you would have done differently now?
I wanted to buy some, I did try and buy some gym equipment, but the reality was that everywhere was sold out. So it would have been better to stop the intake of food during that time and drink. But I kind of felt it was my treat for being off, if you like. I would have done that differently, or perhaps looked after myself a bit better. But I don't really have many things I can say that I sort of regret.
Well, that's good. And just to put a little different spin on it for you, Les, if you were to have some time off, what would you have liked to have done?
Exactly the same as Darren, really. Well, both the chaps. I bought a house 2 years ago. Only half of it's decorated, only because I'm such a perfectionist. The half I have decorated, I've decorated about 3 times now, different colours, and I'm sure it'll be the new colour of the year soon. Just getting in the house and doing a bit more around the house. My website's due an upgrade, so maybe I would have got round to that. But that always takes me forever to decide on what the best photos are to do and the best content. That's it really. I haven't really put much thought into that. I've been, just so rushed off my feet recently. But work-wise, perhaps I would have taken maybe at the beginning of lockdown, I was every time the phone rang, I was there. I was pricing at the job and I was pricing it well, and I wanted to win the work because I didn't think there was going to be that much of it. But in hindsight, there was loads of it, and we've been, like I said, rushed off our feet. in hindsight, I perhaps wouldn't have taken on so much, because we've been okay, fortunately.
Yeah, I think completely understandable though, isn't it? Because it's the unknown. You don't know what's around the corner, so you need to guarantee work and look after your guys that you feel responsible for. So
exactly that.
Yeah, thank you. And now on to our regular feature, the tools of the trade feature. So whether it's physical or not, what's the one bit of kit that you actually need or you couldn't do without, Les?
Oh God, I was hoping you weren't going to come to me first, because there are so many.
I know it's hard to narrow it down to just one, but
yeah, I think it would have to be a dustless sander. We sand, like I love my sprayers, but we don't do a great deal of it. And I could list paintbrushes and this, that, and the other, but sanding we do every single day. It obviously is better for you personally, but it also saves a lot of time on the job because you haven't got to do any of the cleaning up afterwards, and also you get a nicer finish. So yeah, I'd have to go with my dustless sander collection.
Yeah, I think that will definitely get a few votes because the benefits are just massive, like you say. So, Darren, without saying dustless sanding equipment, what's your one bit of kit, whether it's painting and decorating related or business related? What do you need?
Dustless sander.
You bugger.
without doubt. I mean, apart from the obvious, skills and everything else that we have, but without doubt, the one thing I would not do without would be my dustless sanding setup. It is used on every single job. And it took, I always remember a client many a year saying, in fact, he was the cleaner of a client. And I remember commenting and saying, and she'd been there years, and she'd said, I've always admired the standard of your woodwork. Now, this was before I used dustless sanders. This was when I used to hand sand. And she always admired it. And I just thought, I remember when I then took the big leap to go for dustless sanding, it just took your woodwork to another level, just another level. The health sort of advantages of it are it's just a no-brainer. Why? I remember the discussion. Well, let's say the heated debate with my wife to try and persuade her that I was going to spend, say, £600 on a new settle, and I remember from my wife's point of view, she's saying, "Well, you've managed for years, all these years without one. Why do you need one to spend £600? Because £600 to guys who are self-employed, it's a big outlay, isn't it? But now I'd go out if it broke or it got stolen today, I'd literally order one this afternoon, no problem. Wow. It's that important to my business. So for me, I know there's lots of other things, but hands down, it's dustless sanding.
Brilliant. And Morley, yourself? Please don't say dustless sander.
Funny enough, I had planned to. No, the trouble is when I did buy mine, I spoke to Sam about it for a while. I don't have the problem you have with convincing the wife, because I tell my wife that's my business and she's not a partner in the business, so it's my business decision. But the thing is, we went out and bought it, all pleased with ourselves, and we were fighting over it. So I then had to go and buy another lot because Sam had one lot and I had a lot. But no, I would say then if a second choice during the summer months when we're doing exterior work is my table saw. Before I was always going to the local timber merchants trying to get the right width timber. The right, and I can make beading out of it. I can do everything with it. So that's been a really important tool for me to buy.
Well, for doing those on-spot repairs where there's been rot and things like that.
Yeah, so I used to go around. Fortunately, I can go into the timber yards and sort of see the timber, measure it up, but it was never quite the right size, and we spent ages trying to plane it down or whatever. But when we're doing rot repairs, cut it to size, get exactly the right width. And I say, even this week, we've been making beadings, and we can more or less match the profile with that table saw. So it's been a very good tool.
Oh, wow. I would never have guessed that in a million years. So no, that's something a bit more original than a dust-free sander. But no, brilliant. Thank you. I think what I kind of take from you guys is that it's all been very different for everyone. But something that I felt we all tried to do was to change a little bit and get a little less stress in our lives, because it's given us a great opportunity to spend some quality time with our family as well. So guys, it's been great to speak to you today. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences. That's all for this week. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with our next episode discussing the important issue of mental health. Take care and stay safe.